You're sewing, right. Okay, so let's just have a quick look at the basics. And what sort of setup have you got? Is it a steering motor, canvas? Right. Okay, and you're just right, and you're using the likes of the a Land Rover steering angle sensor, are you? Right. Okay. So the first thing I would check is your IMU's definitely rolling in the right direction. Is it when you lean right, it goes right? When you lean left, it goes left? It should all be the same, yeah. Right, let's have a wee looky here and just have a quick look at the basics. So, if it's convenient, can you just turn your steering wheel all the way to the right? Okay, so your actual there's 42.5 degrees. That's probably about right. And now all the way to the left. Okay, so your Ackermann's well off, right? So Ackermann is supposed to be adjusted so that at full left it reads the same as full right. So what you're doing now is every time you turn a degree to the right, roughly, because let's just say 20 is half of 40. Ignore the fact that it was 42.5. So every time you turn a degree to the right, the tractor will turn a degree to the right. Every time you turn a degree to the left, the tractor will turn 2 degrees to the left, because it's double scaling it. Okay, so just hold it there for a minute and we'll just fiddle this in the right way, and I can almost guarantee I've gone the wrong way. No, I have. For once, I've actually gone the right way. So that's a huge mistake there, right? So now go all the way back to the right. Quite possibly, but I never bother with the wizard personally. Right, so you got 42.5 there to the right, and all the way back to the left again. Let's just make sure we're still 42.5-ish. 42.4, pretty close. Okay. Right, now just try and set it so that the tractor looks like it's steering straight ahead. Right, so if you look there, your actual's about 3 degrees, right? So what we're going to do is don't be sewing just now. I'll tell you what, I'll just knock that over because I can't stand that steering bar thing. It annoys the hell out of me. I usually leave the steer while reverse on, by the way. It's kind of quite useful for that. Right, so what we'll do is if you just drive forwards and don't do any sewing just now. You're on the 3-pointer, yeah? You're not trailing and making a mess over the crop bin or anything. Right. Okay, so head for something you can see, like a fence post, telegraph pole, anything like that, right? So now if you let go of the wheel, what this will do... Oh, sorry, you need to press your button if you've got one. Right, so now that's the tractor steering. What it thinks is straight ahead. Okay? So you tell me, are we going towards the right or the left? Are we drifting? Which direction? We're drifting to the left. So if you're drifting to the left, you click to the left. Okay? So just keep me updated what's happening. Drifting still? Okay, so that's a good starting point. So that's what we'll do with that. So if you just want to come to a stop for a moment. Right, so now, maybe if you want to get back, we'll just try a wee bit of work and just see how we get on. While you're setting yourself up here, I'll just have a wee peek at some of these other things. Proportional gain 50, big no-no. This is the thing about copying and pasting settings from other people is you can't, even two tractors that are absolutely identical, I would never copy and paste the settings. Always tune them up individually. So just steer whenever you're ready. Right, so hopefully straight away we might see something a bit better. Looks like it's slowing for some reason. Maybe it's just my screen update here. It's not always the easiest thing to do. So straight away we're down to 2 centimeters, 1.9, 1.8. We're still having a wee wander about here. Generally, I'm not that big a fan of such a high. Ooh, is it a bit rough there or something? Are you actually seeding here? Ah, right, okay. So I'll tell you what I'll do. I'm just going to take this up a bit, and what we're going to do is, sorry, I just went and criticised this and I did nothing about it. So if you see this PWM number here, the one that's flickering at the bottom, that's changing, of course, and bloody hell, you're all over the shop. What we're seeing there is that's your output PWM. So your error here, as it jumps around, so if your error's 1, let's say, it's 1 times 18 plus 25. That's your output figure. If your error is 2, it's 2 times 18 plus 25. So this, when you've got your proportional gain very high, what it means is it can't make small corrections when it's a couple of degrees off. So I'm just going to take this down to kind of make it a bit less excitable. And what I should have done as well was checked your minimum to move. We'll maybe have a look at that in a minute. So what we're possibly seeing now is sometimes as well you want to give these things just a minute just to sort of see how they look, you know, when they're kind of going for real. And let's have a look at the chart here. How does it feel in the seat? Because on the screen it's actually looking a bit exciting. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. Let me just have a wee look over here as well. And we're just going to drag this up to more for the IMU here, okay? Just to see what happens. It might have a wee moment just to settle itself down. Oh, Christ, we're way off there. Is your IMU actually working right here? Because that's crazy. Sorry, that's just gone way off there. Okay, let's just give it a wee second here just to see how it looks once it kind of settles itself down here. So what I'm doing here is I'm trying to get this green and the red to follow each other a little bit more closely. Okay, so it looks as though it's jumping up and bringing in the proportional a bit late. So hopefully, if I bring this up, it might not need the proportional as much. Okay. Right, okay. In that case, having the GPS on fix to fix might have been a bit better here, but let's just have a wee look and see what we get. It's kind of hard to do this when you're only getting like kind of slow steering updates if you're not in the tractor, you know, but you can generally get quite reasonably well, you know. Oops, wrong one. Okay. Mm-hmm. You're definitely leaning to the left. Right, okay then. So one thing you can do is see if you find a mark on the field, just like in a tractor track or something like that. Just stick the rear wheels in it, right? Drop the machine, take a note of what your IMU reading is, then you turn around 180 degrees, put the rear wheels in the same place, but obviously reversed, and it should read exactly the same in the opposite direction. That's a good way to check it in the field. You know, we always usually say to people, you know, do it in the barn, you know, where the floor's flat, but you'll be amazed how many floors are not flat, as it turns out. So if you just drop the machine, so that's you kind of settled there at about -3. Let's call it -3. So if you just lift the machine and turn it round and put your rear wheels in exactly the same place if you can. Oops. Right. So we were -3, now we're +2 point. Is that your machine down? So now we're +2.3. It's not a hell of a lot, but we'll just correct that a wee bit, right? So if the difference is, let's call it 0.7, so 3 minus 3 to 2.3 is about 0.7. So what we'll do is we'll just take from the minus and we'll give to the plus. All right, if that makes sense. So what we'll do is we'll take that up to maybe 2.6. Of course, I'll do it the wrong way. That'll be kind of close enough, you know. Right, okay, if you want to get back into the work again, we'll have a wee look. Let's just see how we get on. Oof, that is wild. Let's put that. I think we might be better off with your GPS back where it was, given it's wild. We'll just do that. This is really going slow for me here. This is going to be a struggle. It's maybe just in a bit where your signal's not quite so good. Oh, it's frozen. No, one screen again. Are you still there? Right. So it's kind of looking to me like your green line on the cross-track error chart is wanting to be above the whole time. Okay. So if you think of that red line and the direction it's going, like, you know, right to left, that's, imagine you're driving along that line towards the right, okay? So that looks to me like you're constantly steered to the left, okay? So what we'll do is we'll do this the other way around now. So if that's steered to the left here, what we'll do is we'll pop it back to the right a wee bit. You always have to watch when you're doing this that you're steering a live machine, of course, and you're on bumpy land. So whenever you adjust this a wee bit, you want to just give it just give it a bit of time and just see what sort of difference it's made. Oh, it's frozen again. Oh, 10 frames at once there. When you make these changes as well, you'll notice that things kind of get a bit off for a moment, but right. Aye. So we'll just take this down a wee bit, or more to the right again. God, it's all over the shop here, isn't it? I think part of this is this, excitement of this graph here is, I think a lot of it might be down to your that we're using the fix to fix for heading rather than the IMU, but the IMU, the whole sort of thing with the BNO is it's not that great, on, let's call it, it can over exaggerate roll a wee bit, I think. That's why we like this TM171 that some people have been talking about, is it seems to be a bit more stable under pressure, let's call it. What we will do is we'll just check your minimum to move. I presume you set that on OK on the wizard, did you? I think you were started off at 25, but we'll maybe bring that one back a bit. Oh man, this is awful. This is really difficult to do when you're doing it remotely. It's actually sometimes you get quite a decent frame rate, and other times it's just. It's at the moment it's actually all right, but a minute ago it was hellish, you know. But I mean, just like not being able to be in the tractor and see how it actually reacts, you know. I mean, it's. Just the numbers look hellish. Looking at the steer chart as well, you know, if you zoom right in, it does look hellish, you know. But now see that little flat spots there where things kind of settled a bit in the cross track error chart. That to me, if that's it settling, that would make me think we've kind of got the wheel angle centre about right. But you kind of want to watch that. Right, can you just sort of drive off in some direction, obviously not over your work, and we'll just check what your minimum to move is. So if you just just engage your steering here or something, once you get onto your line, just about here, that'll do. You put your steering on there. Right, hit your steer button. Right, and I'll just take over it with this. Right, so let's go. Okay, it doesn't seem too slow here. So it is turning the wheels. Just give it 5k or something. What I'm really checking is that it's actually steering the motor, but not too fast. So, oh, sorry, I just realised I'd had that up there. So let's just check this. See, the set point here is 0, but it's not moving, right? Now it's moving very slowly, but if that's the speed that we're going to be correcting at, that's going to take forever, you know. So let's just make it a bit more exciting. That's maybe a bit more realistic, I think. So now we'll make it back to 0 again. Maybe a bit slow. Let's bump it up. Let's see what we get now. Oh, that might be a bit more useful. Okay, right, if you want to turn your steering off and get yourself back to work. Let's try that and just see how we get on. The point of what we're trying to do here is we want to make small corrections without bringing the proportional in, because when we bring the proportional in, then we're going to do big corrections. But because your heading's jumping about all over the place, it may well think that everything's in essence is a big correction. So we'll see. I'll just bump this back up to about 10 or 15. Right, let's see what that gets us. Could be making matters worse here, of course. What I should have done was saved another profile just so you got something to go back to. So that seems, on the face of it, from this very short bit, that we're not jumping about quite as much. Would that be fair from what you're seeing in the seat? So if you look at the PWM output numbers here, you're seeing we're trying to kind of keep it clamped. We're not going into the hundreds, hopefully. So what we've done is we've set our minimum, again, hopefully, so that we don't have to get involved with the multiplication of the proportional gain too heavily, okay? And we can even probably settle that down a wee bit just by giving it maybe 10 and just see how that goes. Proportional gain, just as a reminder for the video, is if it's crisscrossing the line totally, it means you're steering too harsh in each direction. If it's taking an age to get to the line, your proportional gain is too low. But if you look at that cross-track error chart here and, you know, think back to what we had a minute ago, that looks a lot more settled to me. Is that what you're feeling in the seat? Okay. So we're still getting a couple, 2.5 odd centimetres here, but again, it's always kind of difficult to see when you're just looking at numbers. I would maybe consider, we can maybe just try and slow this down a wee bit, but we'll just give it a wee notch at a time here and just see what happens. just again for the video, see the yellow dot on the bonnet of the tractor there? That's your steer response. So that's where we're heading for. Well, with our steering, funnily enough. And the further out that is, the slower it'll steer to that point. You know, so things shouldn't be quite as wild. The downside is the further you kick it out, of course, it can drift off a bit before it decides to come back. So usually, I used to say when I first got into this, that I always thought the sweet spot was kind of between 2.5 and 3, but it always depends on the job you're doing and your conditions and everything, you know. So let's just see. Gosh, IMU's all over the place. You must be getting chucked about in that Cabria. Now, the thing I was doing a minute ago about trying to tune the WAS 0 here, now, it kind of still seems to be that it wants to settle above the line. So if that's driving to the left, we're going to steer to the right a little bit. So we'll just bring it down a wee bit. And just, again, for the benefit of the video, if you click the arrow at the end here, it goes up a small bit. If you click in the middle of the grey bit, it goes up a fair bit. Okay. Now that looks as though it's settled the graph down a little bit. The dips are not quite so big, but again, it's a live machine. What you don't want to do with this is jump to any conclusions too quickly and say, oh, you know, that's perfect now, or you know, or that's made a hell of a difference. You know, because at the moment, as you can see, we've had a bit of a jolt away there, and we're just kind of taking our time to get back. It kind of still seems like it wants to go above. So I'm just going to tap in the grey area, not the arrow this time, so it goes up a bit more instead of like a couple. Of course, on ploughed land, it's always going to be a bit of a challenge, you know yourself, you know. But that's this time, we seem to be kind of reasonably around the under 3 centimetre mark, and frequently a lot less. Considering, I don't think we're doing too bad here. What sort of tractor are you in? Hello? You still there? Ah, I was just asking what sort of tractor you were in. Huh. Right. What sort of tractor is it? Okay. Have you got it working on the steering button, the joystick button, if you have one, or? Right, so this is the rough stuff again, is it? Just for fun here, let's just try this a wee bit. Yeah, it's supposed to sort of settle things down a wee bit, but don't think it's ideal, to be honest. Let's try something like that. Oh, screen's gone a bit slow and weird again. Oof, God. Jeez, oh, we're well off there. What happened? Oh, okay. That's taking a while to come back. So the steer chart looks like the red line is kind of following the green line, not too bad. It's still got a fair bit of gap in it. Oh, screen's hung. Oh no, back to life again. So let's just see how we get on. I'm just going to maybe bring this up to 45 just to see what happens. See, this still, it looks as though we're still kind of settling above the green line on the cross-track error seems to be constantly above. So we're going to steer it a bit more to the right, I think. I thought this was roughly where we started. Oh, screen's going weird again. I thought this was roughly where we started, was about 6 actually. This looks as though it's constantly steered to the left. You're getting a heavy draft on this cedar or something. You're not on a side slope, but well, no, you can't be. This just looks like it's kind of struggling a bit there. Well, like a pendulum. I'm just going to give it a wee bit of integral just to see if we can just get it to correct a bit. So what integral will do is, if it's just not quite coming to the line, you can give it integral, which adds a bit of extra error. So when it's doing its error times proportional gain plus minimum calculations, it just adds a bit extra on. Generally, I don't like using it, but sometimes it's just a necessary evil, let's call it. So this doesn't look too bad now. We're down to 1.3 there. It looks as though it's settled a little bit. Would that be about accurate? Okay. I'm just going to maybe take this back a bit just to see what happens. Bumpier stuff again, is it? Is it the bumpier stuff again? No. I just thought the steering angle was going a bit... Not the steering angle, the head and cross-track error was going a bit wild there. So again, for the video, we've got a little dip below there on the cross-track error, but I'm not going to use that as a basis for correction. This is just normal steering that we would call it here, you know. That bit that's kind of in the centre now, I don't know if my mouse would show on this video, but that's more like what I would say is kind of settled driving, let's call it. Where's your PCB located in the cab? Is it down near the floor? It's not up on any rails up higher in, is it? Oh, okay. Oh, like in the behind the buddy seat sort of thing. It is solid there, isn't it? Aye. Not looking too terrible on the numbers. I think that's not doing too bad there. I might just nudge this to the right a little bit, just to see what happens. When you're getting sort of, you know, let's call it final centimetre tuning like this, you always want to sort of take your time and just, you know, just watch and small changes and then let things settle for a while. And, you know, because you're quite often, even the act of just changing something, of course, will make the tractor correct. And then you're, you know, so don't go, oh, that's made it terrible straight away and back it straight out. You know, just give it a minute just to see how the land lies, so to speak. I'm still not a big fan of having all that IMU heading and GPS fusion thing, but it seems to be working quite well for you. So, so that's going more towards the GPS for the heading rather than the IMU. I mean, I've seen a lot of people just crank that up to 95 and leave it there, you know. But there's a bit of discussion going on Telegram at the moment about whether it is crippling things on like U-turns and stuff like that. But I don't know. We'll see. So we're frequently dipping into the ones, well, just as I say that, of course, we're up to bloody 3 centimetres there. But I was going to say we're frequently dipping into the 1 point somethings. So all in all, I don't think it's maybe looking too bad. Are you happy with that then? Do you think that's been an improvement, or? Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. You. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. I think the challenge as well of the type of land you're driving over, if it's not been worked since it was ploughed, is probably no helping that matters too much. But it'd be interesting to see how this new TM module works. I've got it out for one guy locally. I managed to somehow kill the USB on it, so I couldn't tune it while he was driving or anything like that. But it's going to be interesting to see how that pans out. It just seems so. Well, yeah, I mean, it doesn't actually go on the board. It's its own standalone module, so you connect it over serial, but it's kind of handy because you can put the box wherever you like, and you just need the small box for the IMU, you know, you can just mount under the seat or something like that, you know. Which board have you got? Yeah, so you could probably get it working if you had a little hardware mod. You know, you might need to wire up TX5 to it or something like that. If your board can take RVC, then it could do it, but you just need a firmware thing and stuff like that. See, looking at that on the screen, it looks bloody awful there. Oh, this is the rough stuff again, is it? Right, okay. Okay. Right. Do you want me just to leave you with that one and then see how you get on?